Right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is How Could We Survive a Zombie Apocalypse? This is coming from the channel Second Thought. Guys, I don't think we could survive. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people who survive, but I don't think that all of us, as in we all, could survive, because then there would be no zombies. But all right, let's get it. Let's check it out.
Very few monsters in film and other media are quite as prevalent as zombies, and with good reason. With so many more plausible disasters looming around the corner, such as war, climate change, and financial ruin, zombies offer a gritty escape into a future that, while it may be scary, we know to be fiction. On the one hand...
Kinda. I mean, we've had a couple of instances of quote-unquote zombies, right? In Miami at one time. Something regarding bath salts. I guess they weren't really zombies, but they were kind of zombies. I mean, they were eating people's faces and things like that. Also, zombies are in the Haitian culture also, kind of. Right? But all right, let's get it.
Some small part of us is terrified that a zombie apocalypse could be possible. But on the other hand, many of us hope for it. Decades of zombie movies and video games have given preppers and would-be zombie hunters the information to prepare for the inevitable rising of the dead. But how likely is it that we could actually make it out alive? What would it take to survive a zombie apocalypse? The first things that probably come to mind are guns, baseball bats, and giant ridiculous trucks with push bumpers. And while these things are definitely valuable tools, if you have to use them, you're probably in the worst case scenario, or you're just reckless. And either way, you probably won't last long. What every survivor really needs to focus on is the less glamorous aspects of post-apocalyptic life. Have seasonal allergies? Make sure you have Zyrtec on hand, or risk getting chomped by zombies who heard you sneezing. Allergic to bees? Stock up on EpiPens, unless you want to be that one loser who died from a bee sting instead of a horde of living dead. There are a lot of little details to take into consideration when trying to survive any apocalypse. The first and most...
I'm sorry, bro. Those were the last things that I'd be worried about, but I get it. Like, very specific cases, those would be really important, but I don't think that the overwhelming majority of people are going to kind of appreciate that.
Obvious necessities would be clean drinking water, food, and general first aid. As a rule of thumb, each member of your party should drink about 1 gallon of water per day due to the physical exertion required to exist in a world of ravenous zombies. That can add up quickly, so make sure you have a way to collect fresh water, either through purifying existing water sources or desalinating ocean water. The average human can only go about 3 days to a week without water, so regardless of your survival skills, having drinking water in abundance is non-negotiable. Food is still critical, but more manageable. While a lack of food can lead to decreased physical fortitude, the average human can survive up to 3 weeks without food, as long as they have plenty of water. Finally, first aid supplies like bandages, hydrogen peroxide, and any needed prescription drugs will be a lifesaver when someone in your party inevitably hurts themselves. A gash from a rusty nail can be just as deadly as a zombie bite if not treated quickly.
Absolutely.
Then there are the ever-useful utility items we all use in everyday life. Duct tape alone has more uses than you'd ever expect, from securing barricades to restraining hostile humans to attaching knives to poles for extra zombie-killing reach. Pocket knives or multi-tools will find innumerable uses as well, such as sharpening steaks, severing restraints, or opening cans of food. Then there are flashlights.
Guys, just get a really good short sword. All right? Just make sure you carry like a really good short sword on you, I think, right? That's sturdy, like one that's built like all the way to the handle, right? Those would do, I think, pretty well, guys. Also, a couple of throwing knives, right? Or maybe blades that have like a kind of like a handle. I think those would all work, right? Strategically, at least. I wouldn't suggest, I mean, obviously a firearm is going to be good, but you're going to run out of ammo pretty quickly, guys, right? I would think, at least, if your aim is terrible. But I would definitely say, and honestly, suggest a really good short sword, right? I wish we can go back to the times where we can like carry, these things pretty much like efficiently, guys, like on your waist, right? You get what I'm saying here, guys? That'd be amazing if we can go back to those times where that was like normalcy, right? But yeah, zombie apocalypse, guys, learn to be extremely proficient with a short sword. All right, let's get it.
Many of us have gotten so used to having a flashlight app on our phones that we forget to keep a real, more powerful flashlight handy. When your phone eventually dies and there's no power available, having a flashlight could be the difference between life and death when traveling at night. As for transportation, while a car
don't show me any spoilers for this movie, guys, because I actually have to watch it for the movie channel.
Or truck might offer decent protection from the zombies outside, the engine noise will also attract...
Now I kind of know this is a zombie movie. I guess it could have made sense. World War Zombie.
...their attention and potentially lead them to your hiding spot. Opt for something quieter and more maneuverable, like a bike. Or if you're intent on using a car, steal somebody's Tesla. Just be prepared for when power sources stop working. So you've got your supplies and you're on the move, looking for somewhere safe to set up a base of operations. Step 1. Locate a mall. Then, don't go there. Places where large amounts of people can congregate are the perfect breeding ground for zombies. Enclosed areas with large crowds make for easy infection, and with all the people instinctively rushing to malls and grocery stores to stock up on supplies, they're the last place you want to be. Instead, head for more isolated areas. Your first option, and potentially the safest place near the average person, would be a tall highway overpass or bridge. If you could cart enough supplies onto the bridge, building materials, food, maybe even farming implements, soil, and seeds, your party could destroy both ends of the bridge and effectively separate yourselves from the dangers below.
Yeah, but then if like help ever comes, you're stuck on a bridge, bro. You're stuck on a really high overpass bridge with no way to really good clean water. So I don't know, guys. I mean, if it was a bridge over water and you had a way to kind of like desalinate also, I mean, that could probably be beneficial if the bridge was over like water, guys. Maybe somewhere in like the Keys or Louisiana, maybe, potentially, until a hurricane comes and wipes your whole, civilization away. Personally, I'm heading out to Montana. Right. The first place I go is Montana. I mean, listen, I also heard that zombies don't like cold. I mean, there may be too many zombie movies, but either way, guys, zombies probably don't like the cold, right? So either I'm going to Alaska, I'd rather be put up against polar bears, right? With enough firepower, obviously, right? I'd rather have that to contend against than zombies, guys, personally, or just Montana. I think Montana is a really good empty place, guys.
The biggest risk here would be running out of supplies, as it would be very difficult to go out and scavenge and get back up.
Right.
Another option would be a large boat or yacht crewed by people you trust. Most zombie lore suggests that the living dead would be unable to swim due to their ruined motor functions. As long as you were in deep enough water, you'd be completely isolated from zombies and most of humanity as well. The biggest problem with using a modern boat is their need for fuel. If you run out of gas, you're dead in the water. So if you decide to set up an aquatic base of operations, make sure you have as much fuel as you can possibly carry. 2 other hiding places that could become an option thanks to your boat would...
Oh, guys, we need electric boats, electric yacht. Imagine. I'm sure they exist by now, probably, guys. Right? I'm sure I'm not the first person that has said this, but what if those super large ships that transport goods from continent to continent, what if they, in fact, had like a whole solar farm on top of it? And a whole battery bank, guys? Imagine. I think that could work. Right? Now, one of those would be able to function until the cells in the batteries died, right? That would make all the sense in the world, actually, to me at least. I'm sure some engineer would be like, that doesn't make any sense. But I do think that if it was a yacht, and then we can kind of change it to where it kind of functions like a Tesla, right? And then just solar panels everywhere. Imagine open seas, no shadows, like the perfect amount of sun almost all the time, right? Like rotating panels that can just follow the sun or track the sun. And then just feeds a battery bank, which then in return powers the rest of the ship. Guys, yeah, the ship idea may work.
Be small uninhabited islands and offshore oil rigs. A private island would be ideal for those with enough survival experience to build shelter, rain capture devices, and traps to catch wild animals and any hostile humans who show up looking for a fight.
Right.
Your party would have plenty of space to spread out, depending on the size of the island, and the odds of zombies showing up on your beach are virtually 0. If you can find an uninhabited island far enough from other land and people, you can survive the end of the world in relative comfort. Finally, A deep-sea oil rig is an ideal spot to wait out the zombie apocalypse. You'd be miles from the nearest land, suspended well above the water level, have plenty of existing, near-indestructible metal shelter, and provided you have fishing equipment, you've got an endless supply of food at your fingertips. For those of us who don't fancy the idea of building shelter from scratch on a remote island and value the security of a floating fortress, a deep-sea oil rig is the way to go. Of course, by choosing any of these isolated hiding spots, you limit your ability to gather news and information from the mainland, which means you'll need to make sure you have a radio or some other form of communication with the outside world to know when it's safe to come home, if ever. Could the human race recover from a zombie outbreak? Possibly. With the military and the Center for Disease Control working together, it's hard to imagine a scenario where mindless monsters eradicate the entire human race. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared and make sure you don't become part of the horde. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to keep...
Guys, I mean, I do think that he definitely gave a good amount of information here, right? Like a what if. I personally, again, I would still go with the yacht or some type of shipping boat, right? Or shipping ship, container ship. I think that's that's what they're called, guys. A container ship, right? These container ships... But I would obviously build a solar farm. We don't need all these containers. I mean, obviously we could have some for shelter, right? Potentially. But that's what I would do, guys. That's the most logical. And definitely short swords, guys. Invest in a good short sword. A strong one, right? Make sure the blade goes all the way to the bottom of the handle, not any of these like, cheap Amazon ones, guys, right? Pakistan makes a lot of really good ones, guys. Right, if you can find old ones, not any new ones though, guys. But in India also, they have some really solid short swords, guys. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Let me know in the comments of the next one of these subjects we should be getting into, guys, and I will get into that as soon as I possibly can. And if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. All right, catch you guys later.